Hey guys, right now I think that this gold price is up to date. Now is the time to get excited. Let's concentrate on the hill and run as much material as we can and get as much gold out of here as we can.
Tony Beets just proved every hater wrong by doing the impossible, digging up nearly $1 million in gold while fighting frozen ground. He never stops, never doubts, and never gives up. While others struggled, Tony kept going and showed why he's the best. The challenges were tough, the risks huge, but quitting, not an option. Tune in, because when the final gold count was revealed, everyone was shocked. Frozen dirt, big risks, huge gold. Tony Beets doesn't back down. After months of backbreaking work and endless setbacks, he spots an opportunity. And that's all he needs. No hesitation, no second guessing, just action. He sends his team in to strip the land, getting everything ready for the wash plant. Because in this game, time is money, and Tony isn't about to waste either. But just as the first pay dirt hits the hopper, a problem surfaces. The operation begins with machines roaring and dirt flying. This isn't some small-scale project, it's an all-out gold rush, and he's leading the charge. Every truckload of pay dirt that gets hauled in brings him one step closer to the jackpot. His crew, seasoned and sharp, follows orders without missing a beat. They know the stakes. This isn't a game of trial and error. Every move has to count. Every minute matters. One wrong decision can set them back days, maybe even weeks, and he isn't in the business of wasting time. Now let's talk about the sheer logistics behind a massive wash plant move. He and his crew had to haul that mammoth nearly a mile, and the road wasn't exactly welcoming. Narrow paths, sharp angles, and unstable ground were just a few of the obstacles standing in their way. It was a high-risk move with zero room for error. One wrong turn and the entire operation could be at risk. But he had a plan. His cousin Mike took charge, skillfully maneuvering the behemoth through tight spots and hair-raising turns. The crew held their breath with every movement, but failure was never an option. Then came the unexpected: frozen ground. This was no minor inconvenience. The pay dirt they were counting on was locked in ice, making it nearly impossible to dig. No digging meant no gold, and no gold meant all their work was for nothing. Panic could have set in, but not for him. Instead of folding under pressure, he did what he always does: found another way. The frustration in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. The clock was ticking, and every second spent chipping at frozen dirt was money slipping away. This wasn't just an issue, it was a crisis. The team scrambled, testing different areas, searching for any section that wasn't rock solid. And then a breakthrough. A patch of thawed dirt was found, just enough to keep operations going. It wasn't much, but it was a lifeline. Now, the goal was simple: maximize output and push forward before the freeze cost them everything. The challenges were relentless, but he had one goal: make this season count. And when the numbers finally came in, they told a story of grit, determination, and absolute domination. First, one wash plant brought in hundreds of thousands in gold. Then Mike's trommel hit even bigger numbers, close to $1 million in gold. The doubters? Silenced. The critics? Nowhere to be found. His operation had not just survived the season, it had crushed it. The final weigh-in was the moment of truth. The numbers climbed higher and higher, each ounce representing weeks of blood, sweat, and pure determination. And when the final tally was revealed, it was official. Tony Beets had just pulled off another incredible season. What comes next? If history has shown anything, it's that he is always looking ahead. The work doesn't stop just because the season is over. Plans have to be made, new ground has to be scouted, and improvements have to be put in place. Because in this business, standing still means falling behind. And he has no interest in falling behind. Every season is a test, a battle against the elements, machinery failures, and the unpredictable nature of mining. But for him, it's just another opportunity to show why he's the best. His experience, his guts, and his ability to keep pushing forward make him one of the most respected miners in the game. He's not just working for today's gold, he's building a lasting empire. No shortcuts, no quitting, no backing down. That's his way. And as long as there's gold in the ground, you can bet he'll be out there digging it up. Whether it's frozen dirt, impossible roads, or people doubting him, one thing remains the same: He doesn't just find gold, he takes it. As other miners struggle to keep up, he continues to raise the bar. Whether it's through investing in state-of-the-art equipment, developing new mining techniques, or simply outworking the competition, his vision remains the same. Be the best, get the gold, and leave no doubt about who runs the game. The Yukon isn't for the weak, it's brutal, cold, and merciless. The ground is frozen solid for most of the year, and anyone who dares to mine here needs more than just a dream. They need guts, smarts, and machines that don't take no for an answer. Enter a man who's been proving doubters wrong for years. Love him or hate him, one thing's for sure. He gets gold, and he does it his way. But this time he did something that made even his biggest critics stop and take notice. He won, but staying on top takes more. His next move? A shock to all. Beets' D11 bulldozer changes everything. While other miners were playing it safe, he went all in. He dropped a jaw-dropping $3.5 million on a Caterpillar D11 bulldozer, one of the biggest, baddest, and most powerful dozers money can buy. And while some people were quick to roll their eyes, whispering about reckless spending, he just smiled. Because he knew exactly what he was doing. Mining in the Yukon isn't about being lucky, it's about being prepared, knowing the risks, and having the tools to tear through obstacles, literally. And that's where the D11 comes in. This thing is a monster. Weighing in at over 125 tons, powered by an 850 horsepower V12 engine, it doesn't just push dirt, it dominates it. Frozen ground, not a problem. This beast was built to chew through permafrost like it's nothing. For years, miners have struggled with the brutal reality of Yukon's terrain, losing precious time waiting for the earth to thaw. But he wasn't about to waste a single second. The D11 gave him an edge that few could match. Of course, getting a machine this massive to Paradise Hill wasn't exactly easy. The Yukon's strict weight limits meant the D11 had to be transported in pieces. And we're not talking about some light, easy-to-move parts. Some components alone weighed over 25,000 pounds. It was a logistical nightmare that would make most people sweat. But his crew? They knew what they were doing. Piece by piece, they put the beast together ready to unleash it on the land. When the final bolt was tightened and the engine roared to life, it was like flipping a switch. The game had changed. He climbed into the cab, took control, and pushed forward. The ground didn't stand a chance. Where other machines struggled, the D11 carved through like it was slicing butter. Hours of work suddenly turned into minutes. And that 9,000-ounce gold target, it wasn't looking so impossible anymore. But it wasn't just about raw power. Mining is a long game, and every piece of equipment has to last. Repairs, breakdowns, maintenance, all of that eats into time and profits. He's not stupid. He knew the D11 was built for endurance. With its high drive system, the stress on key components was reduced, making it easier to service and more reliable in the long run. This wasn't a short-term fix, it was a long-term strategy. Mining in the Yukon is physically and mentally exhausting. Every day is a battle against the elements, the land, and the ticking clock of the season. But when you bring in a machine that can take on the hardest work, morale skyrockets. The team wasn't just working harder, they were working smarter. They had a bulldozer that could do the job of multiple machines combined, making everything faster, smoother, and just a little less backbreaking. Of course, the move didn't go unnoticed. Other miners were watching. And they weren't just watching, they were sweating. The Yukon mining industry is cutthroat, and everyone is fighting for the best land, the best pay dirt, and the best equipment. His D11 sent a loud and clear message. He wasn't just in this game, he was running it. Competitors started scrambling, wondering if they needed to shell out millions just to keep up. But let's be real, even with a machine like this, mining is never easy. The weather doesn't care how expensive your equipment is. Snow, ice, and freezing temperatures are always a problem. But he had planned for this. The D11 allowed him to start earlier than anyone else, stripping ground before the competition could even think about firing up their machines. While others waited for nature to do its thing, he was already digging deep, uncovering pay layers and getting ahead. And just when you thought he was done, he made another bold move. Earlier in the season, he spent another $1.5 million on an excavator 950. That's over $5 million in heavy-duty equipment, all to make sure his operation was as efficient as possible. The combination of the D11 and the excavator 950, it was a mining powerhouse. More dirt moved meant more pay dirt processed, and more pay dirt processed meant more gold. Simple math, but a genius move. Tony Beets isn't the type to take blind risks. Every move is calculated. He's been in this business long enough to know that playing it safe is the quickest way to fall behind. Mining changes fast, and if you're not adapting, you're sinking. That's why he keeps pushing forward, keeps innovating, keeps investing in what gives him the biggest return. That's why he's one of the best. As the season went on, the numbers spoke for themselves. The efficiency was off the charts. His crew was hitting their targets and the gold was flowing. All those people who doubted him, who said he was throwing money away, they had to eat their words. The D11 wasn't just a smart investment, it was a game changer. And the impact goes beyond just the mining world. When a single operator pushes the limits of what's possible, it sends ripples through the industry. Investors take notice, suppliers adjust their strategies, and suddenly everyone is trying to keep up. That's the power of taking risks, and that's exactly what he does best. Mining isn't for the faint of heart, and he knows that better than anyone. He's been in the trenches, fought through the toughest seasons, and come out on top time and time again. This latest move wasn't just about the gold. It was about solidifying his place as a legend in the industry. The D11 is more than just a machine. It's a symbol of what it takes to succeed in one of the toughest businesses out there. And if history has taught us anything, it's that he isn't slowing down anytime soon. The D11 changed the game, but trouble hit fast. He bet big, and the Yukon fought back. The biggest gamble yet. Tony Beets has heard it all before. The critics, the skeptics, the armchair miners who think they know better. Every season, there's a new chorus of doubters waiting for him to fail, convinced that this will be the year he finally bites off more than he can chew. And every season, Tony shuts them down in the only way that matters, by doing the impossible and walking away with a pile of gold. This year was supposed to break him. If the Yukon was ruthless before, it went straight up savage this time. Equipment breakdowns, unpredictable weather, logistical nightmares, one thing after another tried to bury Tony and his operation. But if there's one thing Tony Beets doesn't do, it's back down. It started with a goal. Not just any goal, a monster-sized, high-stakes, go big or go home kind of goal. 2,500 ounces of gold. That's the kind of number that makes weaker men sweat. But Tony, he thrives on that pressure. With his family backing him up and his operation firing on all cylinders, it seemed like it could be one of his strongest seasons yet. And for a minute, it was. 2 weeks in, they had already hauled out nearly 800 ounces from Indian River. That's about $1.7 million in gold for anyone keeping score. It was the kind of start that made all the long nights and back-breaking work worth it. But anyone who knows mining knows that momentum is fickle. 1 second, you're on top of the world. Next, the Yukon is reminding you who's really in charge. First up on the hit list, the 30-year-old shaker deck, the backbone of the operation, the machine that keeps the gold coming, falling apart at the worst possible time. Replacing it? Not an option. That would mean weeks of downtime, money lost, and progress grinding to a halt. Tony's solution? Rip it apart, rebuild it, and keep moving. It was a huge gamble, but let's be real, that's the only kind of bet Tony knows how to make. While the crew worked double time getting the shaker deck back in shape, another problem popped up, because of course it did. The Sluice-A-Lot wash plant was in the worst possible position for efficiency. Solution: move the entire 45-ton structure across a mile of pure Yukon punishment. The kind of move that could go wrong in 1,000 different ways. One bad call, one misstep, and catastrophic damage was a real possibility. But with Tony at the helm, they pulled it off, barely. And just when it seemed like things might settle down, bam, more chaos. Over at Scribner Creek, Kevin was having a nightmare of his own. 9 weeks into the season, and he still hadn't seen a single speck of gold. His D10 dozer? Dead.
A busted transmission had left him stranded, and while repairs dragged on, he was stuck using smaller machines that weren't cutting it. The clock was ticking and patience was running out. That's when Tony made a call that shut down every hater who dared to question his commitment to his family. He gave Kevin his own $4 million D11 dozer. No hesitation, no second guessing. That's a power move if there ever was one. With the D11 in action, Kevin was finally able to break through the frozen ground that had been stopping him in his tracks. And to top it off, Tony made sure that D10 got fixed, giving Kevin the firepower he needed to get back in the game. Meanwhile, back at Paradise Hill, things weren't exactly smooth sailing either. Mike was handling the trommel, and for a while, everything seemed solid. Had to keep testing them, the shaker deck suffered another brutal hit. The hydraulic pump failed, meaning they couldn't even lift the grizzly bars. In mining terms, that's game over. Enter Cousin Mike. Quick thinking, fast action. He tried an excavator workaround to keep things moving, but the stress was too much, and the conveyor belt snapped like a rubber band under pressure. What should have been a minor issue turned into a full-scale emergency repair. Time lost, money bleeding. But Tony, he doesn't break under pressure. He adapts. The crew hustled, fixed the damage, and got the plant running again in record time, and somehow through all of that chaos, the gold still rolled in. The weekly weigh-in proved that even with breakdowns and downtime, they were still in the fight. Paradise Hill alone pulled in over 230 ounces, adding another $500,000 to the pile. The numbers kept climbing, but so did the problems. Then the Yukon decided to throw one last curveball: early frost. A cold front slammed into their operation, threatening to freeze the pay dirt solid. If that happened, it was game over. Tony pushed his team to the limit, cranking the wash plants to max efficiency. Every ounce of gold counted, and they weren't about to let winter steal their payday. And just when it seemed like they might outrun Mother Nature, the D11 broke down. A key component failed, leaving them scrambling for a fix. Waiting for parts wasn't an option. Tony did what he does best. He got creative, dug through his own scrapyard, found a workaround, and patched it up well enough to get the job done. Not pretty, not perfect, but it worked. The final weigh-in, a moment of truth. One by one, the numbers rolled in. Paradise Hill, Sluice-A-Lot, the shaker deck, every part of the operation had fought tooth and nail for this. The total? Over 3,000 ounces. That's right, Tony didn't just meet his goal, he crushed it. And this is only the beginning. The real challenge isn't just finding gold, it's overcoming every obstacle that dares to get in the way. From brutal winters to mechanical failures, from shifting landscapes to rising costs, mining is a never-ending war. And Tony Beets, he's the kind of fighter who doesn't stop until he's won. There's gold in the ground, and as long as there's gold, there's a reason to keep pushing. The Yukon can try to break him, but Tony Beets isn't going anywhere. Not now, not ever. Did Tony Beets just prove that massive risk always pays off, or was this reckless spending disguised as genius? Share your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.